Okay, guys, so this is going to be my really awkward and weird, but hopefully effective way of communicating to you how to record your own vocals. So a lot of you are singer-songwriters, amazing vocalists, incredible performers, writing really good songs, but you're limited because you can't produce with people like me who are remote. Because you're thinking, how can I get a decent recording of my vocal or also my guitar or my piano if that's something you want to have in the mix. So let me give you what I consider to be the simplest and most effective way. So I've actually worked with artists who've recorded into their phones, and that's fine, but I figured if I'm going to make a video on this, let me just do it with what I think to be the best way. And that is sort of a tiny little version of your bedroom studio engineer. Everything I'm talking about here is fairly cheap. So first thing you want to do is purchase for yourself this little guy, Focusrite Scarlett. This is an older version, and it's a tiny little. And links to all this stuff is going to be in the description below, so you can just click and buy my direct suggestions there. So this has the ability to plug in a microphone. So you need to buy yourself, again, links in description, an XLR cable, 10 feet, 25 feet. A SM58 Shure microphone, or just get the Shure. Support them, and then we can upgrade later to a condenser microphone. But for now, let's start with something real understandable. The same thing you're probably using when you perform live. So there's my Shure SM58, and then you need your laptop. So if you don't have a laptop, then that's something to think about. Laptops are not dead. They still have some life in them yet. So I downloaded a piece of software called Audacity. Again, links down below. Audacity is not special or amazing by any stretch, but it's free. That's kind of the deal. It's free. So when it comes to the software you actually use to record, there's about 1 million different options. I think for Mac users, there's something called GarageBand that's been really popular for a long time. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start. I downloaded Audacity onto my Windows computer here, and I opened it up. This is what it looks like. If you can, I might punch in here, maybe, if I'm feeling ambitious. But here's what it looks like. Okay. So basically, you plug in your Focusrite or your USB audio interface, is what it's called. It's a device that allows you to convert your audio sound waves, pressure waves on the diaphragm of the microphone into something digital and controllable that you can then put into your computer. Ones and zeros, right? So I'm going to go ahead and, in my recording software, Audacity, which you can use, I'm going to go to Tracks and hit Add New, and I'm going to do a new mono track. Why mono? Because mono tracks this is one microphone capturing one source, and so that's mono. Mono meaning one. It's not stereo. So oftentimes you'll have keyboards will typically be stereo because a piano is very wide, so it's typically it's mic'd with left and right. In our case with vocals, mono. So there's our mono track. Now I've created the mono track, and then there's a big fat button here called Record. All right, so that's pretty universal, the big red button. My mic is ready, and I'm at this point, if you can tell, I'm recording with this tiny mic here. This is a video recording microphone. It has nothing to do with this video, but I'm going to switch now I'm going to synchronize. This computer itself is about to start recording, and I'm going to synchronize it with this video. So I'm going to hit the red button, and I think you can see it. Now you see what's happened. It's created a new track. I didn't know it would do that. By the way, this mic is recording, but you can't really hear it. I haven't switched yet. It's recording a new track because that's what Audacity does. When you just hit the record button, it creates a new track. I'm not going to spend the time to figure out how to get this track to actually record audio. That's something you'll have to slog through. I don't use Audacity. I use Reaper and Pro Tools and a number of other systems. I don't use Audacity. But you can see it's recording. So the issue here is, if you can see here with my audio interface, the mic is plugged in here to channel 1. I've got the little label thing set to line level, so that's fine. And I'm going to turn this knob up until I start to see the indicator going yellow. Definitely not red, but watch this. I'm going to put the mic about a foot away from my mouth, and I'm going to turn this knob up. So this is important. What I just said about foot away from my mouth, really important. Let's take a moment to let that sink in. 12 inches away from my mouth. Okay, we're going to go with that. Now I'm going to turn this knob up, and now in the video, I'm going to actually switch over to this microphone now, turning this knob up until I see it start to go to yellow. Now I'm not hitting yellow, I'm only hitting the green. Now I am getting a decent audio signal, and I can see just from my experience, I recognize that waveform, that's the image that you're seeing on the screen, the waveform is looking pretty healthy. If the top and bottom do indeed represent clipping in Audacity, which I'm unfamiliar with, then this looks pretty decent. I think I'm fine. If I go, whoa, 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 look at that. We hit the top of the zone. I'm going to look back here at the front of the device to see if I hit red. Ready? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Aha. So if I was singing a real song, I would be making sounds like that. Whoa. And I can see the waveform is getting overloaded. And if I do that again, whoa, I'm overloading the system here. The preamp is what it's called. So I'm going to do that whoa sound again and turn this down until it just starts hinting at yellow. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, you can see the waveform. The waveform is pretty wide. I'm actually going to turn it down a little more. Whoa! When I see the waveform looking like this, and here's my latest whoa, I like it to look more like this because I can actually recover these lower level sounds here. So anyway, you basically want to get your vocals as loud as you can without them clipping and touching the tops or bottoms or this turning red, okay? The other alternative, and this is what I would suggest at this point, switching from the line level to the instrument level is just another way of saying, let's get some more juice, okay? So line level says, let's keep things pretty quiet. Instrument level, if you can tell, just gave me a little more juice. So if I've switched over to this microphone instead of this microphone, then you should be able to tell things are a little hotter now. So I'm going to turn this up and whoa, 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 whoa. All right. So I've essentially set my levels. That was how I set my levels. I give my whoa, 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 and I see if my levels are filling up about halfway of the lane here, visually speaking. Now, that's not a technical term. That's not what they teach you in music school, in recording school. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, if you're using modern recording software, you can see it there. At the end, and you can also see here that if it starts hitting the yellow or the red, you know you're too much. Pull it back until your loudest tone, whoa, 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 is no longer hitting red. So I feel very comfortable there. So that's how you set your gain levels. Now, you can see I've been pretty good about keeping the 1 foot rule here. Why am I making a 1 foot rule? Because I'm holding an SM58. That's why. And I'm in a studio. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got curtains behind me. This room is dead. I've got 2-inch rock wool on the walls. I got guitars everywhere. I got couches and rugs. This is a dead space. All right. So I have actually recorded, not entire albums, but I've recorded songs where I've not cupped, but I've grabbed and I've put my mouth on the grill, touched the grill. I'll demonstrate that for you now, actually. And then the issue is, if you actually put your mouth on the grill, that's a little more realistic to what you might be doing live. But check this out. You can recover that. So when you put your mouth on the grill, you basically bypass the room, the environment. I've recorded songs. This will be hilarious. Those of you audio engineers out there will understand. But I've recorded vocals in my car in the middle of the summer in South Carolina with the air conditioning on full blast, laptop in the passenger seat, little, recording preamp with an SM58. but I recorded the lead vocal on my lips, and I'll do that now. Watch, I'm turning the gain all the way down. Now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to turn this up until, whoa, yeah, whoa. Okay, now do you see I've got the SM58 on my lips? I mean, it is touching my lips. I'm not pressing it into my mouth, but you can tell there's a different quality to it. But also, check this out, I am going to be using EQ to bring off my bass, the boominess of my voice now. I'm going to reduce that. And you'll see that it's actually a usable sound. It's a usable sound particularly if your mix is really busy and the vocal isn't super intimate. But this is a very usable sound that I've actually done in studio recordings. So this is something to consider. There's an old legend, I don't know if it's a legend or just a well-known fact, that I believe Bono recorded like this for the Joshua Tree album. So the lips on microphone style that you probably do on Sunday already is very doable. Okay, and you can do it, but it's a little bit of an art form, and you got to be real careful because you have to really trust and remember to turn your preamp way down. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to my 1 foot situation, pull my gain to where whoa. So I'm back to where we started with the 1 foot. So the 1 foot just creates less less potential problems. So essentially, here's the part to pay attention to. Get yourself a mic stand and go sit in your closet. You don't necessarily have to close your closet door if your closet's too small, but get somewhere where there's lots of coats, lots of objects that are going to absorb the sound, okay, so that there's not room echo. Again, in my studio here, there's tons of things that are keeping the sound pretty absorbed and dry, but in your bedroom, the sound's going to be bouncing off the wall like a gymnasium at a high school basketball game. You don't want that. So get in a closet, bring your laptop in there. It's a little weird, but who cares? You're an artist, you know. Speak your truth, sing your truth, right? So this is it. So now the next question is, how do you go about singing with the track? So essentially what an artist will do is they will send me their guitar and their vocal, and then I will turn that into a fully produced track. But then at the end, we need to re-record their lead vocal, so it's up to snuff, up to par with what I've done with their production, with the production value that I've brought in. So then this is what I'm talking about. I'll send the track back to the artist, and the artist will drop the track into here and then sing over it just like I'm doing right now. So you can use your hands, but the problem with the hands is this. Ready? Now, I've successfully recorded a lead vocal handheld because I knew don't tap the microphone. I just know that instinctively. But I've been recording audio. I've been doing audio engineering stuff for 20 years. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. It just means that I have certain instincts that I take for granted. One of those is touching the microphone. So I can actually record a decent lead vocal for a studio album like this, not to mention in my car with the air conditioning going. So you're welcome to try this, I suppose. But I would suggest get yourself a cheap little microphone stand and pull it here. The other trick you can do, which I'm not going to pull this out and demonstrate it right now, but if you have your mic stand, get another mic stand with what's called a pop filter. They sell these, they're cheap, you get them for like $10. They clip onto a mic stand, and they're just like a little, like tights, stretched, leggings stretched inside a circle, a little plastic circle that breaks up your wind, which is essentially what this is doing. But the thing about windscreens, that's what I'm talking about, a pop filter or a windscreen, that's what I'm saying here, is the farther away from the windscreen you get, the more your plosives actually get through the windscreen. So you want the windscreen to be as close to your mouth as possible. I've often had success touching the windscreen with my mouth, and it softens those S's and it evens out the harshness of the high end, especially on condenser microphones. I actually enjoyed that kind of a sound. It has a distinct sound that maybe feels a little unnatural. I like it personally, but some of my musicians, singers will send in tracks with no pop filter, or they'll be distant from the pop filter, and those S's are really harsh. So explore the distance from the pop filter. So if this is my microphone, my pop filter, personally, I would immediately put it right here, like an inch or less from my mouth, to where I'm breathing on it and I'm almost touching it. But you know, if you can't stand that, then 2 or 3 inches is fine. But you don't want the pop filter to be here. See, the mic already has its own pop filter. So pull the filter here close to the source of your plosives to kill those plosives early. So I would suggest that as well. If you're in a pinch, grab a thin t-shirt and just hold it in front of your mouth while you sing. Now that's really ghetto. But then again, in a sense, all of this is ghetto already. So we're already in ghetto territory, okay? So anyway, the question you're having now is, how do I thus begin recording my vocal over the audio track that Jared sent back to me? Great question, right? So I'm gonna actually stop here. We'll switch back to my video microphone. And then, so I'm not using this anymore. What you do now is you would then simply go to Jared's audio track he sends you in the mail, sends you an email, and download it to your downloads folder or whatever. When you find it, grab it and pull it into Audacity, and there it is. If you can see it down there, that's an audio track. This is the vocal track that I was just doing, and so now they're layered. And these are completely arbitrary. They're not related at all. So I'm going to go ahead and mute this track that I've been doing. And then in Audacity, the way to start a new recording is to hit Shift-R. Now, if you're on a Apple computer, it might be different. And if you already are using a different piece of recording software, it'll be different. So in my case, I'm going to hit Shift-R. Then you can see that it's now recording the new track, the audio track of this microphone, while playing back my audio that I've sent, the instruments, sort of the karaoke track. So, and if you can see, even though I'm not listening to it, you can see my waveform from this microphone is now interacting here and recording, and it's being layered on top of the old audio track. So I'll finish this video very quick by saying, I'll stop the recording here. That was just a visual for you. I'm not actually going to play this back for you. But you have your headphones plugged into the headphone jack, and on these devices, typically you'll have a knob that says direct or playback. The more the knob is turned to direct, the more you're going to hear your mic. The more the knob is turned to playback, the more you're going to hear what's coming out of the computer. Okay? So I suggest turning it enough to where when you put your headphones on, like this, you can hear yourself singing well. And if things get real quiet, then turn up your headphone volume to where everything sounds pretty good. And you layer over your vocal track, and you can do it again and again, and you could send me 10 takes or whatever you want. There's a sense in which you can spend some time getting comfortable with how to punch in. So sometimes people can learn how to click in the middle of the track and hit record, and instead of having to sing a take after take after take of the whole song, they just learn how to click in and punch out. And there's different ways to do that. So that's getting more complex and into the system. But this should at least get you started. I just wanted to show you kind of what you're up against. But really, if you have the time, you can get yourself a laptop, a preamp here, an SM58, and a microphone, and a microphone cable. And that you're 90% of the way there. The rest is sort of just fiddling around here, and then you should be all set. So, all right, thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Like, seriously, reach out to me, jaredmckenna.com. You should have no trouble figuring out how to email me there. So I'd love to help you guys. All right, see you next time.